World Ends With You, a runaway bestseller on the Nintendo DS in both Japan and the United States. Sure, its developers Square Enix and Jupiter have a history of hits, but what really makes this game stand out? The graphics? The gameplay? The modern and not fantasy setting? Or is it the soundtrack? The response to the game's soundtrack, iTunes releases, a physical CD release, and an EP release probably baffles the non-gamer. When did video game music come so far? Where did this soundtrack come from? What does music have to do with the game? And why is it so popular? Console video gaming as we know it began in earnest in 1983 with the Nintendo Entertainment System. Music was fairly limited on this first Nintendo. It could only produce 4 bad quality sounds at once, and the 4th channel was usually reserved for sound effects. This electronic stereotype is most people's first experience of video game music and is still associated with the genre today.
I think my idea of video game music is quite old-fashioned from, I guess, about 15 years ago. Something that is very unrealistic sounding, so not played by real instruments.
Just like Game Boy count?
Yes!
Because, yeah, probably Pokemon Game Boy. But it wasn't really music, it was just like little beeping noises that just kind of beeped and then...
Because I think it's very, like, technical. And
yeah, it's all computer
generated.
But with the little synthesizer and like, you know, it just kind of
makes it really annoying.
Yeah.
With this prevalent stereotype, music in games wasn't taken very seriously until the 1986 release of Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest's soundtrack, composed by Koichi Sugiyama, was the first attempt at recreating classical music on the Nintendo, and was later re-recorded by the London Philharmonic Orchestra for a CD release. Sound quality improved, and the amount of tracks available to composers doubled with the Super Nintendo Entertainment System in 1990. Then the track number tripled to 24 with the PlayStation. But the PlayStation's real innovation with sound was the ability to sample CD-quality audio, allowing game composers to finally write for real instruments and even vocals for the first time. Some games, particularly sports games, started using this by giving players the ability to choose their music as if they are listening to a CD.
It's like those ones with like races and stuff, like car ones and snowboarding ones. Then you kind of want that.
However, in the realm of adventure and the more story-based role-playing games, the first time CD-quality audio really caught on was with Final Fantasy VII's One-Winged Angel, written by Nobuo Uematsu.
One-Winged Angel, which is played in the final boss battle, and it's quite memorable because all the other songs in the game were quite atmospheric and just added to the mood, while that one actually had like lyrics and definitely added to the feel of the boss battle being quite epic and everything.
Luckily, high-quality audio has been a staple of video game consoles ever since, even with handheld consoles like the Nintendo DS and PlayStation Portable. The World Ends With You is hardly the first game soundtrack to get a commercial release. Some gamers do listen to soundtracks even when they're not playing the games.
It's a way to remember the video game. I listen to it all the time. I download the soundtracks off the internet. I have very few games of my own, but I've borrowed some of other people. I've got the Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy VII. I haven't played 8, but I've got the soundtrack for 8 as well. Soundtracks from games that I haven't even played, like Final Fantasy X and so on and so forth.
I only have OSTs that I listen to, original soundtracks. I have the We Love Katamari OST.
I listen to a lot of video game music, like The World Ends With You. I have a lot of those songs on my iPod, and Final Fantasy, Zelda, The Legend of Zelda.
I haven't played video games in ages actually, but like sometimes I actually only listen to the soundtrack instead of play.
They make you also want to play the games more.
The convention for role-playing and adventure games is to have a range of music as the players move from area to area, with the music changing in each setting.
Usually it's just instrumental pieces that go behind battle sequences or very sad cutscenes and other things like that.
It's not supposed to take your attention away from the game, but actually to be like under the background and giving you like the mood of the battle or whatever is happening on the screen.
Most music in video games is quite atmospheric and stuff. It sets the scene for the section of the game which you're playing in at that moment. So if you say you were in the clouds, flying over the clouds in some sort of ship or whatever, you have quite high-flying music, quite triumphant music.
If they're really solemn music, then you can tell what kind of a mood the game's got.
Or like the really annoying happy music, and it's just like da-da, and you're like, no.
The music really conveys what's going on, like how when you're fighting there are those really upbeat, funky musics that really get stuck in your head, and when there's something bad going on there's low, morbid tones that really get you into what's going on.
Music also changes for events, reflecting the evolving storyline.
They convey the tension and emotion of the game, like whether you're playing a character or you're just, you're just walking around someplace.
And get excited with the character in certain scenes and feel their sadness and their rage and so on and so forth.
And it's a scary scene, like in Zelda when there's scary bits and they have the scary music.
It's so emotional. Everyone dismisses it and thinks, oh yeah, that's a cool piece of music, but then you think back to the scene that it was played in and you think, oh, this is really beautiful, it made me want to cry. Oh, I cried through this battle scene because, spoiler, Aerith died. And
music may also change for key moments in the gameplay.
And you know that there's like a monster coming because it's got like the monster music going and you're like, oh, there's one around me, where is it?
Unlike a film score, video game music has to be able to stand up to endless repetition. In successful cases, this can mean a very catchy tune.
Game music is designed to really get stuck in your head, and that happens a lot when I listen to video game music.
It gets stuck in your head, and the fact that you can get it stuck in other people's heads just through humming it is an attraction.
The first Mario Brothers Game Boy thing that you have when you're 8.
so what did you think of it?
It was very, very catchy. Like 2 hours later, you'd still be thinking about the music, and that's the only thing that you're thinking about.
Do you still know it now?
Yes. Sadly enough, yes.
The Pokemon music's really catchy, and everybody knows it, which means that you can like play it on the piano or talk about it or show it to someone, and they like always know what it is.
Less successful video game music is often very short loops of music that can grate on the nerves.
Sometimes it can get kind of loopy.
I probably first experienced Spyro, Year of the Dragon, which is the third one because I'm cool like that. And most of what I remember about it is quite short loops of insanely irritating music after a while, which my mum told me to turn off within about 20 minutes.
If my brothers are playing on the computer and they go, I'm like, turn it off!
With the evolution in technology, video game music has grown from its electronic synthesized roots. Many role-playing games, particularly Square Enix's Final Fantasy series, rely on sweeping orchestral scores or the occasional pop song included as a scene in the game.